Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the After Hours podcast. I'm Patrick and I'm joined by Lawrence.
Lawrence, that's me. Hello, how you doing?
And today we're going to be talking about how you can avoid these SEO myths. So Lawrence, I'm gonna ask you, so what are some of your favorite SEO myths?
Favorite SEO myths. I'll start with the top one because I think they'll brief in a lot more of a discussion, but Google's guidelines are not actually guidelines. All Google's guidelines are built to do is to tell people what they should do, but they don't actually mean anything fundamentally. And I say that because I've seen so many examples of things that they put in those guidelines that technically when you actually do SEO in the real world, they don't actually make sense. Like, for example, I've seen so many global websites with the incorrect href flagging implementation, and yet they still rank ridiculously well on Google. So international websites, technical issues, Google can still consider those websites quite authoritative, but they don't follow the guidelines at all. And I'll tell you an example that once we had a client in the financial sector come to us. They said, hey, we followed everything that Google are doing. They're following, let me start again.
Actually, could we actually restart the whole thing? I just had a thought, like, maybe we should introduce like why it's important and like
that's cool.
Because I think we just dived like straight into it and I was like, shit.
Right.
Okay, can we restart? Okay, sweet. Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of the After Hours SEO podcast. I'm here, Patrick, joined by Lawrence.
What's up? How's it going?
And today we're going to be talking about why you should watch out for these SEO myths and how they might be hurting your SEO rankings.
Myths. They're like Senate. What am I even saying today? Let me start again. Let me say that again.
Okay.
Myths. They're like the mermaids. They're like the dragons out there. You can't follow them completely. We're here in the real world doing real SEO. So let's talk about that.
That's right. And Lawrence and I have done a lot of SEO, so we hope we can save you some heartache and a lot of time and pain by telling you what works and what doesn't work in today's
and what kind of works.
Yeah, and what kind of works in today's 2025 SEO landscape. So, Lawrence, let's dive in. First of all, do you want to tell the viewers a little bit more about your favorite SEO myths? Maybe your top 3.
So, top 3. Should I go through all of them one by one or just the top one?
Maybe we'll do one at a time. Yeah.
So top one, and I think this briefs in a lot of the discussion we'll be having, is that Google's guidelines are bullshit. So Google's guidelines are definitely something that to be followed. They're guidelines for a reason, but fundamentally I've seen a lot of people not follow those guidelines and do better. Now, Google put them out as a PR thing to say publicly, hey, these are the things that you should do to rank well in search engines, to not be manipulative, to rank well in Google and to play by the rules. But as we know, people do not play by the rules and rank well. So I'll tell you an example that we've had clients come to us, for example, one in the financial sector. They come to us and say, hey, we followed everything like a good financial client would. Everything that the guidelines say were approved by Google, and yet they're positioned on page 2. And yet, we'll keep following the guidelines with you. But as soon as we started doing things a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside their framework, we started ranking really well. For example, we started doing exact match anchor text on guest posts to some of their core pages without them technically knowing about it. And suddenly they're in the top 3 positions. They're getting a lot of leads and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they ask us why. It's like, well, you're following the guidelines initially, but now you're not. And I hope you're okay with it, but now you're ranking really well. And there's so many great examples of that people in the black hat world love showing. It's a win at all costs mentality, and it works quite well. So that's my one to brief in everything that we're probably going to talk about today.
Yeah, I actually love that one. And I just want to add a little bit as well. Like, Google's whole thing is that you don't manipulate the search rankings, right? Yeah. So they try to put in these guidelines which promote more natural website building. So typically, like, that's why following the guidelines is almost like a trap. Like, even though you're the good student, you're going to get very bad grades. So our advice, be bad, but not too bad.
Be a little bit, be a rebel.
Yeah. Be a rebel, but still get good grades.
Yeah.
Cool. Off the back of that, I've had a little think about what my favorite SEO myth is.
What do you got? What's your favorite SEO myth? What's your first one?
Oh man, I'm going to say that PBNs work. So I'm going to say that PBNs, this is my fact from my personal experience, that PBNs actually 95% of the time do not work. And that percentage is increasing, which is bad for those who are doing it. So in my experience, in the past, PBNs have worked a lot more than they do now. So PBN, for those who don't know, is a private blog network. So that's someone that owns a network of websites, like 100, 200 websites, and then they are selling links or pointing links to their own websites. The issue with PBN links is that PBN links are not protected against link decay. So over time, what happens with a website is that it loses backlinks. So things happen like websites go down, businesses go out of business, pages just get removed by webmasters because they're out of date. And then that causes you to lose backlinks. But what happens generally with PBNs is that after someone that owns a PBN has 200 websites to maintain, the quality of the content that they produce typically is not as good as a legitimate website, obviously, because they don't have the same time, care, and attention. As Google's algorithm gets better and better over time, what ends up happening is that they're able to detect this like BS content, right? And then what happens is a lot of those pages get de-indexed or they just drop from the search results entirely. And then there goes your backlink. So I've seen over time what happens is websites that rely very heavily on PBNs, and these are like, I'm sure there's a PBN network out there that is amazing and it works and it's beautiful and there's someone that's doing it exceptionally well. But for the vast majority of PBNs, they're not very well maintained or high quality. So what happens is those websites that you bought PBN links from, typically they drop off over like 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. Whilst typically a real genuine backlink will stay for your business for like 3, 6, 10 years. Because that business and that website's a real thing. So it's going to be around for a long time. And typically like that article is also really good. So what ends up happening is when you build a website of PBNs alone, you need to constantly be throwing a larger volume of fuel onto the fire because that fuel is extinguishing really, really quickly. Like those backlinks are dropping off, so you need to replace them, right? So you're essentially building your house on sand because backlinks are dropping fast, being de-indexed, dropping off Google. So you need to keep filling them up. And then what ends up happening is you just end up pouring more money in just to keep your position, but your website's not growing. And you wonder why. It's because all your backlinks are dropping off on the back end. So when you build links with proper good links, what you're actually doing is you're building your foundation on concrete, right? You actually have a concrete foundation where your website can now compound in growth every single month because those links are actually staying. No link is ever permanent, but you want links that are long-term. And yeah, that's why I think PBNs in 2025, for the most part, don't work.
So there's still that 5% that do?
Yes.
That they can hold that sand and you can keep filling that. But inevitably, if you don't have the acquisition rate, it's not going to work.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I've personally spent thousands of dollars, like probably like way too much money on PBNs.
Trillions.
Yeah. And the worst thing about PBNs as well is that whole community is very, it's for lack of a better term, like it's like gate kept. If a PBN works, they're not going to tell everyone about it, right?
They're just going to abuse it until people find out about it.
Yeah.
Through looking through link profiles, and then they're going to be like, oh, we're just going to move on to the next thing.
Exactly. And it's like, if you found like a PBN that works, you're not going to share it with all of your competitors as well, because it's going to become saturated.
I'll share it to my friends, I'll share it to you, but I'm not going to publicly say it.
So then you get into this rabbit hole where the only way to find out whether a PBN works or not is to either know people that, have a very successful PBN that is working, that you trust, or to test it out yourself, which is a nightmare. And believe me.
I mean, to use an analogy, it's almost like drugs, right? You're just finding a really good supplier, and as soon as the supplier gets busted, you're like, I got to find a new guy. Find a new dealer.
Yeah, exactly. And that also creates a really big risk for your business now, because then your whole business is reliant on this one supplier. If you lose him, or if his method gets busted, like you're screwed.
The network diminishes.
Exactly.
The supply diminishes.
Yeah. So that's Lawrence's and I's lesson to you guys is if you have a PBN that works, keep using it, but
Keep
know
your mouth
that.
shut.
Yeah, let us know. Email us too. But yeah, just watch out because that could go under very, very quickly. And we would always recommend building proper backlinks because you want your website to be a compounding asset that grows over time. You don't want it to get worse over time. So there you go. That's my favorite SEO myth.
All right.
How about number 2?
Number 2 for me, and we're on the links conversation, but no follow links.
Ooh.
No follow links when people say they do not pass any juice, they do not pass any link equity, not true. And I'll tell you why. So initially, Google put this in place to put a directive to say, hey, we do not endorse this link. If I was to link to you and I put a no follow on it, I'm putting a link on my website, but I'm not technically sponsoring it. I'm not endorsing it. And people thought, okay, this directive might mean that it's not going to pass any equity and Google's going to ignore that in terms of their link profile. What we found is, well, if there's a really great website that's willing to link to you and even putting a no follow on there, the benefits of that, while maybe not directly impacting it, around it, the referral traffic coming through, the traffic from clicks, the traffic from subsequent blogs that might link to you from seeing that article is very valuable. And we've done tests around this. We've seen that an e-commerce website that we're working with, we acquired one no-follow link to them. They said, it's not worth anything, guys. Like, take it off the website. And, we're like, okay, yeah. And as soon as we took it off, the rankings diminished on that page. It got up to position 6 from the second page of Google, which was really great. As soon as we took it off, straight back down. So on individual tests or even just as a natural link acquisition strategy, do not sleep on no-follow links because they're going to pass some equity either directly or indirectly as well. So do your own testing around this. If I was to take a website with similar authority and got a link from the same website, the same niche relevance, the same localization, and pointed them to 2 separate websites in the same category, even if one had a no-follow and not have a no-follow, you can test this yourself. And this is back to actually testing things yourself in SEO. You should do it to prove yourself right or wrong. And that's what we know from working in SEO for so long, is that unless you see it visibly or you read it somewhere and test it yourself, you're never really going to fully know. And that gives you confidence that strategy will actually work.
Definitely. On that note, Lawrence, I think that's super interesting and like really helpful for a lot of our viewers as well, is when does like a no follow link work? What are the requirements in order for a no follow link to be effective? Could you explain more?
The requirements they're slightly intangible, and this is where we get to that gray area of links that we've previously talked about before. But I think it comes down to clicks and referral traffic. If you're driving a lot of referral traffic through even a no follow link, that subsequent impact and people being engaged on the website, jumping on from a high quality website or high quality publication, Google can look at those signals, they can look at the engagement on the page, and then that flows back into the overall search rankings, how Google perceives your brand as well. So that's what I would look at as well. And just on an individual basis, Google is crawling through trillions of websites, individual pages all the time. If they don't pick up on that no follow directive and even just take that as a hint, they might subsequently miss that and still see, hey, website A to B is linking to this. This must be an authoritative website. So I'd love to take a clean website with no links at all and point one no follow and see if it has an impact. And we've done that before and seen that actually works long term.
Yep, definitely. So the takeaway I got from that was that traffic is a huge one for no follow links, and
Yes.
that link needs to have some sort of traffic going to it, whether it be referral or like direct or whatnot, right?
Some relevant traffic, niche relevance, very hard in Australia. In the US and UK, it's a little bit easier because they have the wider amount of domains and more developed blogs. In Australia, those links are very hard to get. But if you can get those for Australian clients, they love it from a brand perspective, but also that niche relevance within the same domain and same country, same IP address even, is going to be very, very impactful, even if it does have a no follow on it.
Yeah, definitely. Love it. I'm going to build on that one actually. And Lawrence brought up a really good point that I just thought about. Another SEO myth is links from your country are the only links that matter. So this, especially in Australia, is untrue. Because in Australia, we have a very, very small selection of websites where we can actually build relevant niche guest posts and niche edits from. And from, I think, both of our experiences, I've ranked websites to top 3 of Google purely from foreign domains, .com, like, .com ones, what do you call it? Domains from like
UK,
Africa, yeah, .co UK,
ZA,
.ru, like
all the A's.
yeah. So yeah, you can genuinely rank any website for any location without having any domestic anchors or domestic referring domains. Would I recommend getting domestic referring domains? Absolutely. The more niche you can get it to the location that you want to rank in, like if you can get it on a suburb level, a bunch of different websites in your suburb that link to you, amazing. Would that be better than getting a link from Russia or South Korea? 100%. But it's not to say that those links don't hurt. And if you get foreign anchors and foreign domains in enough quantity, they can have a very positive effect on your website. Now, typically, you will still get some referring domains in your country and in your city, but a natural backlink profile typically has backlinks from all over the world. So if you're going out there and you're getting backlinks and you're getting them from .com or you're getting them from .ru or wherever, as long as that website is niche relevant, it's a trusted and real business, and has like a pretty clean backlink profile, then I would say it's a good link. And of course, it's getting traffic, has no like Google penalties and things like that. I would say it's a good link. And you don't need to just focus on your own country. But yeah, that's my number 2 SEO myth.
That's your number 2. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And what I get from that is similar to the link landscape. You have to qualify links on different factors. Like you're saying, domain, the age of the domain, the location, the niche relevance, the keyword base. This is why you need to work with SEO specialists, because you can see a little bit through the matrix of the complexity of links and go, this is good, this is kind of okay, I'd take this, and this is probably not going to be helpful, but I'll take it anyway. And that's a lot of the decision making behind an SEO specialist, to go, is this right for this particular case? Would I take this? Would I spend time and money on getting this link acquisition? If I would, because I think it's going to help, I take it. But what people also don't realize is the link profile, you can't actually control it, because other websites are going to link to you naturally anyway. So as long as you're doing the right thing, have a good product and business that's worth linking to, you're going to be fine. We're just there to help push along the discussion and make sure that people are getting links to your website, because you could, if a tree falls on the wood, no one's going to hear about it. And we're here to promote the website and make sure you do have a pretty substantial link profile over time. And a local business may not be able to do that easily. That's where we get involved.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so much mysticism around backlinks. It's just so confusing to know which.
It is a bit of magic.
Yeah, there is. There's a bit of an art and a science to it, but it's really hard to know which backlinks are going to benefit your business and which are not. I think a pitfall that a lot of SEOs or business owners get into is that they think 1 or 2 like magical backlinks is going to take them to the top. And from personal experience, that's just not the case. Even if you got a backlink from like coles.com.au or in a huge domain, news.com.au, Sunrise or something like that, 9news.com.au, huge authoritative websites in Australia, it still most likely wouldn't take you to the very top. You would probably see a positive move overall, but in my experience, you need a volume alongside like niche relevancy and authority. You kind of need like all 3 for the triangle to work.
I'd add to that, because another example I've seen is large publications, large networks of publications, they're all under the same group. They may have a partner that's a provider, like a real estate brand or a financial brand, and they'll link all their domains to those particular brands. And at a certain point, Google goes, yeah, I know that you guys link to them. That's fine. I understand that. But if that's all they're leveraging, going, we should get a lot of power through this. Yeah, initially you might get a jump, but over time, Google just comes to expect that kind of link acquired to your website. Now, if you lost that, you'd be pretty screwed, but you have to build upon that as well. Like you talked about link decay, over time, you need to be acquiring more, good amounts of more, and not to an extent where it seems manipulative as well.
Yep, definitely. Okay, Lawrence.
Number 3.
Or do you want to do number 3?
So another SEO myth, and I think this is becoming less of a myth and more of people understanding that this is the case, is that Google Ads doesn't have an impact on SEO. Now we can definitively say, because of the Google's antitrust trial reveals, that clicks do matter in SEO. Clicks and engagement on the page. They basically got caught with their pants down saying, hey, in our guidelines and a documentation, what we say on Twitter and things like that is, yeah, clicks don't really matter. We more focus on the quality of the website, the content. Come to find out through their own internal documentation, there's a bit of magic to it. There is click data running through the system, and they don't do it literally. They say, okay, we take the model of what a website is getting a lot of clicks for and go, websites like this should rank better. So there's not a direct insight, according to them, that they're looking at browser data. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. They probably are if they have Chrome. Is that a website will benefit from clicks. Thus, if you're using Google Ads on your website, you're probably going to do a little bit better in SEO. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to get you to number one immediately, but it's going to have a little meaningful impact that more users are going to click to your website. Even if it's 10 more clicks than you're getting from the previous month you were doing it, Google's going to pick up on that signal and go, well, someone's clicking on this brand. It must be slightly good. And once you lock into a first page position, and I've seen this personally, I put out an article with my EEAT checklist, put a little bit of Google Ads spend towards it, that particular page, and it got to the first page of Google globally, which is really awesome. And I stopped the ads next month, nowhere to be seen. Brian Dean took me over, but that's totally fine. I accept that Brian Dean's got a better publication to me. He's got a partnership with SEMrush. It's totally fine. I understand that. But that showed me, okay, even my little article, my little Australian-based blog out in the middle of nowhere still had a pretty good impact just by running a little bit of ads to a keyword that no one's bidding on, basically. So test it out. Go out there and do a little bit of ad spend and see if it works for you. See if you get more clicks to the website. And I think indirectly, that will impact your SEO.
Yep, definitely. I can also second exactly what Lawrence was saying. I've had personal experience with this as well. So the tidbit is that CTR and engagement matters as a ranking factor, and it definitely affects your website. For one of my clients, I actually tested this as well, where we had a keyword that was 75 KD on Ahrefs. So very competitive keyword, had around 6,000 monthly searches. And what we did was we didn't build a single backlink for 2 months to the website. So we left everything, no new content, no SEO optimization. All we did was we ran ads, like Lawrence was saying, to that specific page that was ranking for the keyword that we wanted to rank for. And then we were driving more traffic to it. And then what we saw over 2 months was that that keyword went from position 4 to position 3 and then position 2, right? Just from that increased engagement. We did nothing else for 2 whole months, right? And then it jumped up to position 2. When we turned off the ads, it dropped back down to position 5. So Google must have been like, whoa, what happened to the engagement on this page? It must no longer be as relevant to users anymore. So that page dropped down to position 5. And then when we turned it back on, it went back up to position 4. So it hasn't quite gotten back up to that like position 2 yet. It's actually something that we're still running now, but it could get back up to that position 2. So CTR definitely is CTR and engagement metrics definitely is a ranking factor that you should be considering. And thinking about how can I get more people to the page that I'm trying to rank, but then also how can I get them to stay and engage with my website and not to bounce off.
Absolutely. And locking into that first page position, if your business has never experienced that before, to get to 2, 3, even 1 for a month, Google would then go, okay, this is a brand worth ranking. And then you get to the territory of having to compete. So what we noticed in our client base a few years back is we had a lot of small clients that were struggling to get rankings, and we were doing everything we potentially could to get them to rank just from a pure SEO perspective. They weren't doing any ads, but then we found doing some split testing that our client base that usually had a bit of ad spend, we're not talking anything crazy like millions of dollars, but a couple $100 per month, did statistically slightly better in SEO. So the war between SEO and paid ads, we're here, we're bartering peace. We're saying, hey, let's work together. We both have our strengths, and indirectly to each other, we're both going to benefit for that if we do that in unison. I went to a lot of wars with the SEO people, with the SEM people, and gone, hey guys, turn off that branded spend. But now I'm a little bit more like, yeah, let's go. Let's click and do some branded clicks. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. The more real estate you can take up on the SERPs is never going to hurt the business.
Yeah, but don't take credit from us, okay? We're working together now.
Definitely. I know we were supposed to do 3 each, and we've probably debunked more than 6 myths so far, but I'm going to keep the train going.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really good one, especially on the topic of links that we've been talking a lot about. A very common metric that people look for when they buy links is DR30 over 1,000 traffic. It's the most common quality sanity check metrics that you're going to see with backlinks. Now, I'm going to tell you that this can be very misleading. And in my opinion, relying just on DR30 and over 1K traffic domains is a trap because there's other things that you need to be looking for. The first reason why relying on these is a trap is because these metrics can be easily manipulated. So DR30, you can literally go onto Fiverr right now, $5, $10, pay someone to boost your website's authority from 0 to like 60 with like $10, right? And then you ask me, Pat, what about the traffic metric, right? How are you going to fake the traffic metric? Well, the traffic metric can actually be faked as well when there's only 1, 2, or 3 pages on that entire website, which has like hundreds of pages, that's driving all of the traffic. So typically what people do is they try to rank for very long tail keywords like a specific car auto manual or something like that. Or they look for really, really high search volume keywords. And then it's completely unrelated to the topic. And then they rank for that keyword. It's normally really obscure things like, like I was saying, like some sort of car manual or some sort of really random keyword like it'll be like ABCDEFG. And then what they do is on the back end, they'll get some sort of like CTR bot to drive up the traffic metrics on that particular keyword. And it'll look like their website is ranking for, 1,000 monthly visitors, but really it's coming from one gibberish keyword or it's coming from like a gibberish page. So yeah, you essentially just paid like $300 for a dud backlink. So how do you tell and protect yourself against DR30 1K traffic backlinks? First thing you need to do is you need to expand the metrics that you look at when you're checking the backlinks. Number one is you want to look at which pages drive the most amount of traffic to that website. If it's only 1 or 2 pages with very gibberish keywords, then you know you're onto a dud. The second thing I would check is the traffic for that website growing or is it stable? If the traffic went up and then is now like on a very strong decline, that tells you something's wrong. Like Google clearly doesn't like this site. Maybe it used to have 10,000 monthly visitors. Now it has 1,000 monthly visitors. So if you see that graph on like Ahrefs or SEMrush go like this, you're like, whoa, something is really, really wrong here, right? So that's something else I would look for. Another thing that I look for is the backlink profile growing as well? Because a real genuine website should have more and more backlinks being accumulated over time because it's being mentioned in the news, mentioned by other people, or they're conducting SEO and they're just growing their company. So if you see the referring domains stable or growing, great, fantastic, that's good. If you see it declining over time, very worrisome. Or if you see it irregularly spike up and down like this, and then that tells you some sort of funny business is going on, like they're doing some sort of manipulative tactics or PBNs or something, and you probably don't want to be associated with that website. A less commonly known tactic to check whether or not a website is legitimate as well is the number of organic pages ranking in the top 100 positions. So on Ahrefs, you can actually see this. So you can see how many of their pages appear for keywords that are ranking in the top 100. If you see that graph is decreasing, then what that tells you is those pages are either being de-indexed or they're just being devalued by Google. And if a website has a very strong downward curve of pages that are being devalued by Google, then that tells you that website is likely producing a lot of crap. So, they're producing a lot of blogs that aren't in their niche, or they're just producing a lot of AI surface level content that adds no real value. So that website is probably selling links, or is probably a PBN, or is probably just a bad website. That very, very small chance of that last one. It's probably the other two. So yeah, don't rely on just DR30 and 1K traffic. Make sure you check for the traffic trend. Is it growing? Referring domain trend, as well as pages in the top 100 trend. If you have all three of those metrics tracked alongside DR30 and 1K traffic and they all check out, then I think you have a pretty good website. But if either of those metrics are not tracking out, then I would take a step back and evaluate whether or not you want that website. I definitely wouldn't pay $300 for it. That's for sure.
So from what you're saying is DR is a vanity metric. It's a few layers deeper than that you really need to explore that. And I feel the same way about DA. Any of the D authority scores, AS, DA, they're all just, people bring them up to us as a metric. So, how do we get this increasing? But there's so many deeper layers to looking at the individual pages, what keywords they're ranking for, the index rate, all the other factors behind that score that is only just a 50% snapshot of what's actually happening on the website.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely dangerous to rely just on one metric, like Lawrence was saying, because that's easily manipulated. But what's hard to manipulate is like all 5 of those metrics at once, because all of those, when they're aligned, they give you very strong evidence that a website is doing really well, and is liked by Google, is liked by users. So it's probably a legitimate website. And if you wanted to fake all of those things, then the answer is to build a good website.
Yeah. Indirectly putting the hard work to fake all those things would be just make a real website, guys. Like just make it genuine, Yeah. That's too hard, right? It's easier to fake those things. Imagine if all the affiliate bros out there spent a lot of time building genuine brands. And I think that's more of the movement these days. They probably do pretty well knowing what they know, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people are starting to pivot that way as well. Like what I've seen with a couple of like SEOs that I know is you start off with like as an SEO bro, like you're just trying to manipulate the algorithm. Yeah, that's typically how the maturity like trend goes. It's like first you're just trying to manipulate the algorithm as much as you can, stuffing exact match keywords like all over your page. It reads horrendously and is clearly like SEO broed, no UX as well. I'm just going to smash as many keywords as I can on the page. And as many dirty backlinks as possible as well for the lowest amount of cost to see if I can get to the top.
Well, actually, on the other side, and that's the path I fundamentally took, is more of that white hat, let's just do everything ethically approach. But then you come somewhere towards the middle and go, yes, some of this can be really useful from a tactical, let's win the game perspective, which I really appreciate and love. And it's a competition in business. It's a competition in SEO. But then, you do have to do things that morally make you sleep better at night. Although, at the end of the day, we're just ranking websites. We're just trying to do it in the most methodical and risk-free and smart way possible. And that's right there in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. I actually love how you brought that up as well. Like in terms of like SEO maturity, there's 2 sides of the spectrum. There is that person that follows Google's rules to the T and says, oh my God, I'm so scared to break a single rule because they're not going to rank my website. And then there's the other side that's like fuck you, Google.
Yeah, like it's just whatever it takes. Yeah. And having met both those sides of people, they're great people, they're wonderful people, but I'd rather just listen to all sides and take that's where you can really go down the path of just trying to figure out yourself. And whether you're a business owner or an SEO specialist, just do it yourself and you will know what options you have and what you like in SEO fundamentally. Some people are very link heavy. Some people are more content focused. It's not wrong either way of doing it. It's just what methodology really aligns to what your expertise is. Being a great generalist is also good, but being a great technical SEO, you're probably gonna have to play in that more white hat space because you're doing things that adhere to the guidelines. But like I said, these people are getting very successful not doing the things that Google are telling you to do, which that's just the game. That's the game of life.
Yeah, that's the game of life. I guess like this conversation has brought me on to thinking about how to gain more confidence as an SEO. And I think a myth around this is working on a lot of websites as an SEO gives you confidence. And I think that's a myth because if you work at an agency or you work somewhere and all you do is follow an SOP and you've done that SOP for like 50 different businesses, right? I think you'll be a little bit more confident. But if something goes wrong, or there's an update that throws that SOP out of whack and throws a core component of that SOP out of whack and you don't know how to fix it, then I think that's really going to shatter your confidence as an SEO. I think real confidence for SEOs is generated from trying, breaking, failing, and then recovering. So it's like when you know like how to break things, why it broke, and then how to fix it, I think your confidence as an SEO skyrockets because you become very flexible. And you know that whenever there's a major problem in a website, you know the solution because you've already gone down that path before. And then you also have the experience to know that it's not the end of the world, and you can recover from this. It's just coming up with the game plan and then putting it into action. And when you are that flexible and you have that much experience, and you've developed the character of going through bad moments in your SEO campaign, I think that's what really makes you confident as an SEO specialist. Even if you don't know everything, you know that you've done stuff like this before and you figured out how to fix it in the past. And then that makes you feel pretty invincible as an SEO, I think.
Yeah, I've met the more battle-hardened, I've become a bit more of this person as I've gone along in my journey, is that now we're facing the threat of new search, which is LLMs, Perplexity, Gemini. What's that going to mean? But then to the more experienced SEO within me, I go, it's just another thing to optimize for, right? It's just another thing on the spectrum of different types of search that we just need to be aware of. And I got the question the other day, which was, is SEO going to be viable in 10 years? Is it actually going to be a viable industry? And I think to myself, well, it's been around for 20. They've updated from Penguin, Panda, Hummingbird, helpful content. There's been so many things thrown at these websites, and yet the best ones still remain fundamentally pretty strong. And there's been collateral damage along the way, but a new search engine to optimize for, I think that's pretty exciting. A new way of searching is really exciting. And you see now the shift that the people that are less phased by it go, okay, well, we're going to look into things like video, personal branding. We're going to look at indirect traffic channels to see how we can position that website to the top of whatever people are putting into their phone, or maybe in the future that we're putting into VR headsets, I don't know. But whatever they're doing to find a website, we have to know how to optimize for it. That's just fundamentally it. If that's the job and that's the job you enjoy doing and you're experienced at doing that, SEOs are very well positioned for the next wave of whatever the future of marketing is. Even though it's so intangible at the moment, if we know how to take a website and put it in someone's face, that's it. That's the skill that you have.
Yeah, definitely. And at the end of the day as well, the LLMs and like the AI that's, surfacing now in search, it has to get the information from somewhere. Like websites will always be the source of information. And then the AI is just a tool that helps you scour the internet for the best possible options. So essentially like SEO is still going to be around. These websites still need to be optimized. The AIs need to be able to read the website and understand what the business is about and if it matches the search intent of the actual searcher. And most of the time, business owners don't know how to do this optimization. So people worry that like SEO is not going to be around anymore, or like they're going to have to change the way that they do SEO. Maybe a little bit. You're probably going to have to be more efficient and learn how to use AI systems to help you work faster. But the core fundamentals of SEO still remains the same. How do I make my website as reputable as possible to Google, the LLMs, and users? And then that's how you win in SEO. So all you did is just add, how do I make sure the LLM trusts me now too? Which kind of makes you like an insecure schoolgirl because now you're trying to get everyone to like you. But
I think it comes down to now SEOs are going to have to get more creative, where we could take an SOP, write a blog brief, write the content made for it. But what's going to take that content to the next step? What's going to adhere to information gain? What's going to make it slightly different than the rest of the search results that a user would click on it and a LLM would go, you know what, this is a little bit better than the rest. Conversationally, this is written in a way that the query that has been prompted to me is a little bit better than, just the classic law firm blog article about what is, wills and estates law. What's probate law? If you have something like a video, if you have something like a case study, an infographic, something a little bit different, it's going to rank better over time or just have a better positioning long term. It may not be adhering to the traditional SEO principles. You should have those, but doing something slightly a little bit wacky and zany might be the way to cut through the noise. And that's what you need to do. If you're positioned on the first page, you're going to have to cut through the noise somehow and get that click to the website. It's no longer just about having the right title tag. That's great. But having a little bit more juice, a little bit more dwell time is going to work better for SEO long term.
Definitely. I think there's that like myth, and here's another myth that's been like floating around that a lot of people say SEO is dead. I see that thumbnail everywhere on YouTube, right? SEO is dead. SEO is dead. Oh my God, SEO is dead. SEO is not dead. I think like to what Lawrence was saying as well is SEO is evolving. So what's happening is now we're not just optimizers and blog writers. I feel like now SEO is transitioning into how do I make, how do I even describe this? It's transitioning into like almost like a digital marketing manager, where SEOs understand that in order to rank well, you need to write good content. So you need to know how to write good content. What does good content look like? Is it human readable, but is it also SEO optimized? You need to know how to SEO optimize a website, which is the core thing that we do. You need to know what makes the UX of a website work. So there's no point driving a lot of like traffic to a website just to have no one convert just because it looks ugly or they don't know how to interact with it. So yeah, it turns into like those three things now, where an SEO needs to have knowledge on all three in order to be very successful. If you're just an SEO optimizer, I think you're going to find it really hard to have clients stick around for the long term, because what's going to happen is you're going to produce content that is very hard to read. It's not very human readable. It's not smooth. But then also you're going to be driving a lot of traffic to a website that doesn't convert. And therefore your clients think you're not doing a good job. But in fact, you are doing a good job. It's just not producing an ROI for your client, because your client doesn't have a vehicle that is able to take customers from consideration phase to purchase. And then they blame you for that. And like, well, that's so unfair. Like, that's not my fault. That's the UX or web designer's fault. True, but a lot of customers don't even have a UX designer or web designer that is super invested in making sure that website looks the best it can possibly be. They might have a guy on retainer who helps them with 5-10 changes a month that they want to put on their website, but he's not actively invested in making sure that website is evolving and being the best that it can possibly be, unless the business is quite established and quite legitimate. But a lot of smaller to medium-sized clients don't have that web design team member to help them, really make sure that website is converting extremely well and is very user-friendly and easy to use. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to build in a lot more infrastructure behind the website to be able to drive that traffic, but also leverage and capture that traffic in a meaningful way. So as you were talking, I was just thinking about one more myth, which is it's very hard to calculate SEO ROI. It is, but it isn't, because what I notice in a lot of service-based businesses is they don't have a CRM. So they cannot attribute any type of acquisition from any channel to anything. And they go, oh, where's the ROI in SEO? It's like, because you're not calculating that. Well, whether that's our job, it's becoming more of our job to go, you know what? You got these leads for SEO and this is how much value they were. Guess what? You didn't convert them. So we have to tell our clients, hey, if you're not converting the leads, we have to introduce something that will make them, we can get them to your door, like you were saying, but you have to convert them. That's not our role in particular. If you want us to help you out with that, we've got great referral partners that can do that and can come in and really revolutionize your business. But we can push a lot of traffic to your website, but you got to capture it and put it down on paper and then make sure it converts through your pipeline as well. So we're breaching more into that space and looking at the actual conversion of those leads and saying, if that's $1 million lead, we've just made our entire retainer back. And we've had so many of those examples and shown that. And the client goes, thank you. You made us millions of dollars through a very, very standard and simple to understand SEO campaign. And that feels really great, because other marketing channels may be suffering, but SEO is still thriving.
That is actually such an interesting point that you mentioned just now. Like, I think that's the miss where a lot of SEO agencies they aren't able to accurately define and track the amount of ROI that they've generated for their businesses. Like, the myth, SEO is just SEO. That is a myth, as Lawrence has proven here. Like with Studio Hawk, one of Australia's largest SEO agencies, you need to be able to prove to your clients that you're able to generate them an ROI. That's the most important thing, because clients, they're not going to keep paying you if you're not going to generate them more money than they're paying you at the end of the day. So question I have for you then, Lawrence, is can you speak more about that CRM feature that you just mentioned? Like, how do you attribute with your clients to that level of detail how much, or I guess like what SEO lead has come in, when that job has converted, how much it is converted for, and then what was the ROI on SEO? Like, how do you do such an in-depth level of tracking?
In-depth tracking, it actually comes down to something really simple as a spreadsheet, tracking what lead came in at what time through what channel, and we take claim of all the ones that say organic, and then we have to ask the client, how much was this deal worth? Now, this is the fallacy of a lot of small businesses. They're small businesses, like we've talked about, how they are specialists of what they do, but they're not great at driving revenue sometimes because they don't know how much their lead acquisition rate is. They don't know how to manage their pipeline. But if they converted a job that's a couple grand, that's just paid for the retainer back. So we get as simple as just a spreadsheet that tracks all the leads to introducing something like a HubSpot or a Go High Level or a Zoho or a Pipedrive into their business to go, hey, this is how you actually manage the pipeline. Now, whether that be the founder taking the sales process or whether that be an internal team, or whether you just go back to putting stickers on a whiteboard and moving them across as they're moving through the pipeline, we want to make sure to the deepest level, and we ask the SEO specialists to go in and say, where do the leads go in your system? Let's make sure they're attributed back to the campaign. So we can look at things from impressions to clicks to traffic to what pages brought in the most traffic to what blog content we created that funneled through, and then we can drive everything back. It's very nuanced and complex, but it does come down to just really manage tracking, even down to a simple spreadsheet, one by one, going through every single lead. That's where you can lose a lot of businesses actually going, hey, the traffic came in, the leads were very interested, but you didn't pick up the phone. And that's a bit sad, but it's true. And that's the benefit of actually being an SEO, is uncovering some of those more business issues than related to just pure marketing issues as well.
Yeah. Wow. That's really, really cool. I have some questions in regards to that. It's like, one is, how do you know that the lead came from an organic channel if someone calls? Like, let's say they just called the number because they saw, they were on the website. They're like, you know what, this looks pretty cool. I'm just going to give them a ring. Like, can you attribute that to SEO? Is that possible?
Yeah, you can attribute that through GA4, but there's also great little integrations like CoreRail, or I use a tool called Attributor that is really great at hooking in between those different systems, that even if it's built into the fields of a conversion tracking form or a lead form of any type, Gravity Forms, WS Forms, whatever, or any type of CRM or any type of CMS, it can just literally show you where that traffic came from through the browser data or through the system it came through at, making sure that the attribution of the URL actually just goes to the right place. And we can see that, and we can at least in some way form it back to what channel it came from. That's becoming more of our job lately.
Yeah, definitely. There's like a mix of like SEO consultant / marketing consultant / business consultant.
We want to get some bloody credit from
yeah,
too, right?
Yeah, you have to, because it's so hard to know like where the leads come from. If you don't actually like spell it out for clients, most of the time that credit is going to go elsewhere.
Because they don't know as well. And, working from what we were a small business to a medium business ourselves, we didn't know where our leads came from. It's a classic example of what a marketing agency that works on not even their own marketing, but as soon as we started doing that, we know how much pipeline we're generating through SEO. It's a great channel for us. Google Ads is great for us, but we never attributed properly before. So taking the lessons from internally working in yourself as a business to now helping your clients, it can be a great relationship to build long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I have lost my.
I think we're right on an hour.
Are we?
Oh, we got 11 minutes.
No, we've got like 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, please clip this. Yep. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. Cool. Okay, awesome.
What did you have? You had some like questions here.
Yeah, I've got some questions here. Let me
rapid fire questions.
Yep. Let me ask you some.
Do you want me to ask you the next one? And
oh yeah, you can
I don't
ask
have
me.
the format. Hang on, let me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've got it up here. I can just ask you.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait,
cool.
No, we should do like a back and forth.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Wait. Sorry, we're losing time here. All right, just fire the first question. I'll look at this in a second.
Yeah. You go ahead. Oh, me. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, cool. So we've been spending heaps of time talking about, more advanced tactics, running an SEO agency and like things like that. What are some mistakes that beginners should avoid? What are some actually myths that beginner SEOs commonly run into? Mistakes.
I was thinking about this before, using really expensive tools that you do not know how to use. So I've had people come to me that want to learn SEO and they say, should I buy SEMrush? And I go, probably not, because to fully maximize its use, you're probably not ready for that. Use something as simple as Google Search Console or a great tool like SEO Get. Fantastic tool for just looking through what keywords you're ranking for straight through Google Search Console. So there's no aggregation from a different database, and see what pages are attributed to and just start from there. It's basically free if you're using Google Search Console, or SEO gets it's a couple $100 probably to just get something going in terms of your SEO toolkit. You work on that for 2 months, you'll build a really good foundation. So SEO being expensive to get into and hard to learn, there's information everywhere. Just by purely from Search Console, it's free. You can do a lot.
Yeah, nice. For me, I would say learn everything yourself is the biggest mistake that beginners make. SEO is so complicated and there's so much mysticism behind it. You would be absolutely gobsmacked the amount of time that you can save if you get someone who knows what they're doing to teach you. Like you can just cut through so much of the BS and so much of the noise. For example, with link building, if you tried to learn how to build links yourself, my God, you would waste so much money, so much time. But then with the advice that Lawrence and I have given you today, that could have saved you 6 months or to a year, like of trying to build links yourself. Because as we know, to rank a website with links takes months as well. So you would be pouring so much money and time into doing a personal test that you could have just literally asked a mentor, what's the answer? And the mentor would have just given you the answer. And then you would have saved yourself 12 months of heartache and probably thousands of dollars of backlink cost. So beginners, please get yourself a mentor or someone that knows what they're doing. And that will truly accelerate your rate of growth.
To add to that, I've given the analogy before to someone said, why should we do links with you? Well, if you went out and tried to get the same level of links, you're a founder, you're a business owner, you could spend 10 hours doing it. We can do it in 2 because we have the network, we have the publishers that we work with constantly, we have the tactics to do it. We know what to do exactly. We're going to save you time on doing that for this rate where you could go out and do things in your business that are actually going to be meaningful and drive revenue in other sources. Let us handle that as well. It's like, oh yeah, that makes a little bit more sense than me trying to go down the rabbit hole of trying to find out the perfect DR, DA, traffic niche relevance on a backlink. It's not a job for everyone.
Yeah, definitely agree. That's like starting to get more into the realm of like being a business consultant again, because you're like, hey man, you need to be produced. You don't spend your time as a founder on building backlinks. You need to be like figuring out, your customers' biggest pain points. You need to be figuring out what's wrong with your offer. You need to be thinking about how to better maximize your packages in your company to maximize ROI. Like there's so many better things to do. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people get bogged down with is spending time on things that just don't matter that much. Like with SEO specifically, there's like S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier things that you can do. For example, like in my personal opinion, schema is something you can waste a lot of time on that just, to be frank, it doesn't move the needle that much. Yeah. Like unless you're in ecom and you're doing like review schema, that's a great one. But for the most part, if you're doing like local business schema, you're worried about your blog article schema, like don't worry about that. Like spend as little amount of time as possible on that schema and then just focus on, making sure that your keywords in your H1, which is super important, making sure your keyword is in your meta title, super important. And then making sure your article is like SEO optimized, readable, people want to engage in it, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's something I've noticed that a lot of very like technical people get stuck on. The people that like to tick off every single box in the checklist get stuck on the things that just don't matter.
They're gonna miss the big opportunity by being too rigid in their approach. That's following the guidelines a little bit too much.
Yep.
In business, in SEO, it's there's a lot of synergy between that. You're gonna miss out on those opportunities. But I'd rather spend 10 hours working on schema or create the best white paper that's gonna get good publications and great coverage that's gonna drive a lot of clicks to my website. If I've got the fundamentals down and they're mostly done right, I can focus on bigger and brighter things in SEO.
Definitely. I think a really good rule to live by is the 80-20 rule, both like professionally and like personally, is 20% of the things that you do produce 80% of the outcome. And this was like, I'm going to butcher this quote, but like I learned this from watching a podcast from Leila Hormozi, where she speaks about how there's like, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier problems essentially. And as founders or business owners or even like SEOs, you're very emotionally tied to your project. You want it to go well. You want to do everything perfectly, including the D tier tasks that just don't matter. She mentions thinking about it like problems in buckets. So she says, for example, is your problem going to catch fire to this entire office. If it's going to burn the whole office down, then that's a problem you need to focus on, right? Is the problem just going to be a fire that's contained in a dumpster? So it's a problem, but that problem is contained. And if it burns out, nothing happens to the entire like organization or your campaign or whatever it is that you're trying to build, right? So let the fires that can be contained and self-contained, sometimes you just let them burn. Schema, didn't implement it, don't worry about it.
Schema, let it burn.
Let it burn, yeah. Don't implement it for 2 years. Like just let it burn, like it's fine. Worry about the other stuff that like moves the needle more. Yeah. Like if you're not building backlinks, website's not gonna make any money, you're gonna lose the client, then yeah, the whole office is burned down because you're gonna be homeless. So
my way of doing it, and this is how I operate life in an SEO as well, is this gonna completely fuck me at some point? And if I go by that methodology, I usually find the things and go, you know what, this isn't gonna completely nuke my life in the next 2 weeks. I could probably let it sit. And I experience this day to day. Everything's a problem, everything's a priority, whether it be SEO in business. And you just have to pick the battles really smartly and have to almost wear the fact that you can't resolve everything. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but over time you build a lot more of a muscle towards it, a lot more of a wall towards, oh, we got this problem. It's like, yeah, we do. But I got this thing to do over here that could be amazing. You got to channel your energy towards those right things. And it's a skill to learn. I can't teach it that easily. You just have to experience it every single day to build that muscle towards it.
Yeah, definitely. I think in today's like chaotic life where if you're an agency, you have so many different clients to look after, so many different tasks to do, or just even in your personal life, you need to go to the gym, you need to visit your mom, you need to talk to your friends, you need to make your girlfriend happy. Like there's all these different competing priorities. And then what ends up happening a lot of the time is people get overwhelmed because there's too much to do and then they get lost. Something that is a good tip for SEO in life, again, is to be present. And what that means is think about what needs to be done today or like in the immediate term. And then everything else you plan for and let the chips fall where they may. So sometimes you might have like a presentation that's due in like 2 months, right? To a client and you feel extremely like underprepared for it. Then you spend the entire 2 months worrying about it, wasting mental energy on it. And then just feeling like overwhelmed. Do you ever get that feeling like where you don't want to do the work because you're not looking forward to it?
All the time.
All the time, yeah. But then something that's been like tremendously helpful for me is that when I know I have so much stuff to do in the future and it's very intimidating, I just remember just to be present. Like what do I need to get done today for my clients and my personal life and my business? And then if I just keep doing that, just worrying about today, then tomorrow will take care of itself because everything that is due today is going to get done. And then that way you never fall behind because how can you be late on something if you're delivering every single deliverable that you need to do today? You never be late. So
Pat 1 year ago got it done and that's why he's here today.
Yeah.
Right. So surely you got to trust yourself at some point to do the thing, even not perfectly or not even to schedule, or it will get done. It's just you can get caught up. It's like, oh, I can't do this. You can do it, obviously. Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that also comes down to building a skill. Like you were saying before, Lawrence, about deciding on whether or not this thing's going to nuke me and this thing's going to fuck me is like, what do I need to do today? Because a lot of the time we do things that we like to do, not things that we need to do. So it's like, oh, that client presentation I have in 2 months, like I don't want to do those little pieces that I need to do every single day to deliver it because I'm so like intimidated by it. I'm going to work on something else. And then what ends up happening is that like presentation's around the corner and you're like, oh crap, I haven't done anything because you've just been pushing away the things that you need to do for the things that you want to do. And then that's where a lot of people get trapped up. It's like, I don't want to do this thing. It makes me uncomfortable. It's bringing me a lot of pain. It could be like, you don't know how to build backlinks. So you just don't figure out the outreach process. And then what ends up happening is the client's like, yo, where are my backlinks? And you're like, crap, like, I didn't build them because, well, you're not going to say this to them, but in your head, you're going to think I didn't build them because I was so intimidated by doing it. I never got started. But you got to get over that. And yeah, just do the things that you know you need to do, even if you don't want to do them. And that will serve you very well in life and in business, I think.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, that was a long life rant / SEO podcast, but
it's all blended together sometimes. It's a different industry we work in. It gets very philosophical, but also down to what title tag should I create today?
Yeah, absolutely. Lawrence, if people want to get into contact with you, where can they find you?
LinkedIn is where I mostly hang out. So Lawrence Hitches on LinkedIn. Let's chat SEO if you want to. I'm there. Check me out.
Oh, Lawrence is also doing a speech in Vietnam soon.
Yes, I'm going to be
conference.
in Vietnam literally probably this time next Friday doing a speech in front of, I think, 400 people. So that's going to be pretty exciting. It's, I'm going to be talking about SEO talent, recruitment, retention, how to build great SEO specialists from the ground up, something I love talking about. So I'll let you know how it goes.
Nice. And what's that conference called in case some
SEO
of our viewers are
Mastery
going?
Summit. I'll be there next week. It's going to be great. Shout out to Matt Singer for allowing me to speak on stage. That's going to be really exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. And if you're looking to get into contact with me, you can find me at leadingleadsoz.com.au, or you can check out my socials, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and such. And if you like this podcast, you can also follow us at the After Hours SEO podcast. I think that's what it's called, but we'll chuck it in the links. Give us a follow, give us a like, and we appreciate you guys watching this content. And thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.
Bye.